Hi, I'm Amy Shawn, and this is my senior project contribution. My main contribution was that I was in charge of the machine, the Nook Automatic Cell Factory Manipulator. This was the machine that I personally worked on, and it is a very complex system, and it has multiple functions that I brought to life using blueprints. And let's go over some of that functionality and mechanics. So this is the manipulator task manager. In order for the user to have a linear experience that is controlled, I built a task management system for the manipulator so that the steps would be controlled and only certain parts of the blueprints would be activated at a time. This controls the execution flow, which will control the data and the frame rate of the game. I then realized when I was testing for bugs on the manipulator that it would take a long time because I would have to actually go through each step in the simulation to get to the step that I needed to test, and that would take forever because we have over 52 steps. So I created a system that allowed me to skip a step when I push this button on this widget. Bethany also created a system that skips a step, not knowing that I had already made this. So we actually have two skip step systems. Hers is used on the widget, and mine is used primarily for bug testing. So I didn't only work on the manipulator, but I also worked on the cart. My primary job on the cart was to build the mechanic where we place the cell factories onto the cart, and the client specially requested that we have a slide-in animation for that so that it has a smooth transition into place. And so I created a blueprint for that where it attaches to an animated socket. The socket will animate on using a move component node, a timeline that's interpolated on a lerp. Another mechanic I had to work on with the cart and the manipulator was putting the cart onto the manipulator. And I did this by using the set visibility node. What this does is that whenever the cart enters the bounding box of the manipulator, it will turn off the visibility on the cart while turning on the visibility of the cart that is attached to the manipulator already, which was invisible previously. So that way it gives the illusion that we're placing the cart onto the manipulator while still keeping the cart separate from the manipulator. That way Bethany can use the cart in her blueprints. As we've been working on this project, though, we realized it would be easier if we separate the carts completely. So I may change this to where I can actually attach the cart to the manipulator rather than messing with the visibility. This is the tube detached socket mechanic. So in our simulation, we need to be able to detach and attach these hoses together. So I needed a system where you could do that, where you could detach, that it would register if you attach to the correct one, and then if you did, then it would check off that task and go on to the next step. This is the rope connect and tube connect input animations. So in our mechanic, we need to be able to attach hoses to the machine and also open up each clamp as the cell factories are filling with liquid. The liquid part is not complete due to time constraints, but I will be working on that over the holidays. The Tube Connect is a separate blueprint that can be attached and detached. And the reason I am using solid blocks right now is because when I use the physics rope and I teleport, the physics rope kind of goes haywire. So for now I'm using this static mesh until I can figure out how to work around that. I have these clamps on an input, and so when my controller's inside the bounding box and it presses trigger, it will activate the animation and open up the clamp. I have each of these clamps on separate blueprints that I attached to the manipulator as a child actor. That way I could animate them separately. Otherwise, because they're sharing the same animation state machine, they all open out at once unless you separate them. This is the blue cap mechanics. Whenever you do the animation clamp, these blue caps actually pop off. It's hard to see in this GIF, but they just immediately gain physics and they just pop right off. And you can reattach them if you pick them up and put them back, which the player has the option to do when they take the cart back to the incubator. I think we actually took out that mechanic, so it's just not connected, but that's a mechanic we could easily put back in if it's necessary, but I don't think it is. So this is the clamps mechanic. We need to be able to clamp off certain tubes with 2 different clamps. And so I have 2 different sockets, and if you clamp the correct socket, it will register that the step is complete. This mechanic we may take out of the project because we've learned through our experience in VR that connecting the hoses is a lot more user-friendly and more entertaining, and it just may make the experience more seamless. We'll see what our client says about it, but I will keep that code in and just disconnect it and in case we need to use it. So this is the buttons. My buttons in the VR are interactable. They push down and they go back up when they're not being pressed, and they trigger events when they're pressed. My buttons trigger the animation state machine so that the cell factories on the manipulator will be animated to the correct position. The client wanted us to implement a mechanic to where whenever we press the button, the player will spawn right in front of the machine so that it has a better viewpoint of the animations. I originally had it to where it will time out and then you'll go right back to the buttons, but now I realized that it's a lot simpler if I just allow the player to teleport back to the buttons themselves. I also have it on a camera fade as well, so it transitions the alpha all the way to black and then from black to to transparent on a delay. And then this is the liquid interaction. This is something I'm still working on. It's in progress. And this is the code that I'm going to be using in order to fill up my cell factories with liquid. It's just a matter of getting it hooked up. But the code is already built. Also, the system is built. But this is just a little snapshot of some of the code for that. This is what I contributed to the project. I coded the entire Nook automatic cell factory manipulator and some of the cart, as well as this task manager that controls the entire game. But after through experience, we realized it would be better if we separated the task managers. So we did that, and so now I just need to take the task manager that I built for the whole system and make sure that it's properly hooked up just to the manipulator and not controlling anything outside of the manipulator. That way it doesn't interfere with any of Bethany's blueprints. So during the holidays, that's what we're going to do. We're just going to make these little changes, like separating the task managers properly, and making sure the carts are completely separate, and just getting the liquid interaction finished, and just a few more bugs, and then we will be done. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you.